Over the Moon for You is undeniably one of the worst anime of the fall season. Even if you were to ignore the weird creep factor of an author consistently writing about a 17-year-old girl and how great she is for like the first 3 episodes and nothing else happening, it also has horrible art and animation. The waifu, Tsukasa, isn't even that cute, and pretty damn bland characters. If you like it, that's okay, as long as you recognize that it's bad. I mean, I like plenty of shit shows too. But before we continue, I just want to clarify that I won't be using any footage in this, or most of my videos for that matter, because I don't want the production companies behind these to look at me and go, oh yeah, that's one untapped Buddha hole you got there. So instead, here's some boring ass still images. Now, as I was saying, for the uninitiated, it's a show about a boy who meets a girl on a walk home one night from, I believe it was some kind of test, and when he sees her, he falls in love with her immediately and rushes out to greet her, but is instead hit by a truck. Now, usually that's where an isekai would start, but no, instead she jumps in the way, yet he still gets badly injured and she doesn't. And on top of that, she walks away and is later completely healed, and he, despite being hit by an entire truck, he channels his inner Giga Chad energy and finds his way to his waifu, going all the way to where she had sat down, she now completely okay, meeting her and then professing his love to her before falling unconscious into a coma for like 2 weeks or something like that. And then the show has a little mini time skip, I believe like 3 years maybe passes, and then they meet back up. From here, she professes that she would like to get married, and that's pretty much the entire first episode. From here, it's the antics of a romantic couple that is not only already dating, but is already engaged, is already married to one another, and that's supposed to be the whole sell of the show. And while the show does have some, cute moments, and it's mostly a harmless rom-com, the first few episodes are pretty weird, has a real high creep factor to it. Again, that's ignoring the fact that even for a rom-com, it's pretty boring. First off, the art and animation are absolutely horrid. I get that it's not got a lot going on for it, but dear God, just look at some of these shots. These aren't even in between shots. These are just normal, regular shots. The colors are bland. The outfits are bland. The animation looks like stick figures moving. And God, the art is just poorly drawn half the time. And bringing it back to the point I had originally mentioned, those first few episodes, before any of the other characters get introduced, which we'll get into later, it's basically about the main character, NASA, whatever, going on and on and on and on about how cute girls are and how great they are and how cute his wife is. Now, NASA is around 18 to 19 for what I believe, and Tsukasa, the main girl, is 17 years old. And my problem isn't necessarily that Tsukasa's 17 and NASA is 19. That doesn't bother me at all. I mean, Tsukasa is some kind of otherworldly being, based on the first episode at least. But even if she wasn't, again, it's not really, what I'm taking issue with. What I'm taking issue with is that NASA is just a vehicle for the author. He's a mouthpiece for the author who is God knows how old. And all he does is drone on and on and on about how great his wife is, and about how cute she smells outside the shower, and the nape of her neck when she's putting on her pajamas, and what she might be like naked, or how to hold her, and, those kind of things, which is really weird, because she's 17 years old. I mean, the character could have been any age, but the author chose for her to be 17 years old, and then proceeded to drone on and on and on and on about how great, essentially, 17-year-old girls are. And it's pretty damn creepy. I mean, this is coming from a guy who, has no problem with the weirder sides of anime. Lollies and shit like that, I embrace that. But this was just a little too weird. And if this was only for like half an episode, or hell, maybe just the first episode, I wouldn't have cared. But the fact that this is all the show has to offer you for like the first 2 or 3 episodes until newer characters get introduced is mind-boggling. Like, that's it. And somehow people think this is good. Not only is it weird, but it's just bad. And even when the characters are introduced, it's still pretty shit because they're so bland. Yeah, eventually there's this sister duo at the hot springs onsen bath that he attends, but even then, although the little sister adds some antics, the big sister is supposed to be like the rival type character. But the joke is that he's already married, so they don't tell her, which probably could have been a funny gag, but it shows up once and then that's it. You don't see the sister for a few episodes until later on when she figures out that they're married, and that was it. That was the whole joke. Despite the fact that it introduces more characters, in addition to Tsukasa's little sister, it's just none of the jokes ever land. The comedic timing is off, and it's just boring. Even NASA himself as a main character isn't very entertaining. He's apparently some super genius who can solve almost any problem, but yet was working at a convenience store for some reason for most of his time before he met back up with Tsukasa. It's a solid 4. I mean, what else can I say? There's no real other way to describe it outside of the blandness, because even if you force yourself past the weird creep factor in the beginning, once you get to the fluff of the more rom-com-y bits, it's still not that funny, and the romance can be cute at some points, but even when it tries to, it's kind of ruined by the bland character designs and the terrible art. I mean, this show looks gray half of the time I'm watching it. Like, Tsukasa's hair should be pink. It doesn't look pink. It looks like a really doled out pink. It's just not fun. Very boring to watch all around. The style of an anime is not necessarily influenced by its budget. It's more influenced by the people behind it and the amount of time they had to work on this. So this could just be a rush job, but I'm not impressed. I judge things based on the final product, not what went into making them, unless there was a legitimate reason for it to turn out looking like this. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about the show, but it's not the worst show of the fall 2020 anime season, but it definitely was one of the worst ones. And unlike the worst show of the season, which barely had anybody watching it, I found it really odd to find out that people seem to really like it. And as I said in the beginning, you're fine to like it as long as you know the show's bad. I think Rent-A-Girlfriend was a great show. At least a 7, but that show is an objective 3. It's absolutely horrible. So you're fine to like something that's bad as long as you acknowledge that it's bad. You don't try and go around saying it's good. But that's it for me. I ain't got shit else to talk about. I tried to pad the runtime to 10 minutes for that sweet, sweet YouTube algorithm, but that didn't work out. Please enjoy this video of Tsukasa cutely dancing, despite all the shit that I just talked about the show.